The views and opinions expressed in the following paid program are those of the host, callers, and guests, and do not necessarily reflect the views or positions of this station, its management, or owners. Welcome to Straight Talk and Retirement, your no-hype source for financial advice in making informed choices about your retirement planning. Get on the phone to talk today at 314-931-5877 or text your question to 84126.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.
Now, here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, hello, St. Louis, and a happy Mother's Day weekend to everybody. I'm Jeff Lapidus, the former president of JBL Financial Services, Inc. Our office are located in beautiful, sunny, downtown, quickly warming Olivet, Missouri. I am a 45-year veteran of the financial services area, a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager. And I'm joined by my crew, my very capable, prodigal, oldest daughter, certified financial planner, Aaron Lapidus, and her husband, my son-in-law. Well, it has to work that way, right? Her husband, my son-in-law, my favorite son-in-law,
hope.
My only son-in-law, Rob Markham, who is also a fee-based financial planner and wealth manager, and our life insurance and fixed annuity sales specialist.
Good morning.
Good morning. But is it my crew now? You're a part of my crew.
You're going to have to do the opening then.
It's a lot of work. But we help our clients make smart choices about their money. The way we do that is by designing a game plan, a real game plan, a step-by-step strategy with several goals in mind.
First is to preserve, protect, and prudently grow the assets our clients have taken their entire lifetimes to accumulate.
Second is to deliver a reliable stream of income, one they can count on, so they can do all the things they'd like to do in retirement.
And third is cost-effectively addressing their healthcare needs, like helping individuals enroll in Medicare and choosing the right plan to couple with their Medicare coverage.
And then when they're done enjoying their assets during their lifetime, we show them how to pass them on to the people they love, whether it's their spouses or children, grandchildren, churches, or charities, whoever it might be, without Uncle Sam or the tax court taking a big bite out of their money. And as their wealth managers, Aaron, Rob, and I watch their money every single day to make sure they're staying on track. And that's why they call us the retirement coaches. Folks, again, good morning. Thanks so much for tuning in to our 2 hours of fun and excitement. You can tell we're live and local. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877, or send a text message, 84126. We always love to hear from you. And as a reminder, all of our clients are folks like you. They're our listeners, 55 and older. They would like to retire, or they're already retired.
You know, I don't think we've had a tape show in the last year and a half.
Well, no, we don't let people know it's taped.
But we
try not to.
Well, right. But I mean, I think we've been truly live every single week.
Maybe when we went to Pittsburgh.
Oh, yeah. Maybe.
I mean, that's going back to like week 3
of October last year.
It's the only, I don't even know that was the case. I'm just spitballing here.
Well, what else is
No, actually, I think we flew in after the show, as a matter of fact. We flew in.
Right.
We took a flight after the show. We were there Saturday night, Sunday night, etc. So we didn't miss.
Didn't miss it. But you know what else we don't miss? Our newsletter every single month. We call it the Coach's Corner. You can access it by logging onto our website, jblfinancial.com. In the lower left-hand corner of the screen, a pop-up box appears that says sign up for our monthly newsletter. If you click on that, give us your name, email address, and phone number. We will send it out to you every single month. We also keep it logged on our website so you can take a look at past issues. Rob, tell us what's in our May issue.
Oh, we got some great articles there. The first one being, when do people start collecting Social Security? You know, if you've listened to the show for any length of time, you know when to elect your Social Security benefit is paramount to your overall retirement game plan. We've discussed this many times because of all the variables that go into that decision. For instance, are you going to continue to work after electing your benefit? Is creating a larger potential benefit for your wife or husband important to you? Do you have health concerns that need to be taken into consideration? All these questions factor into how we bring your Social Security election into your retirement game plan. Having said that, our newsletter article has a great infographic highlighting when most people decide to elect their benefit. And I'll give you a little spoiler alert. The two most popular election times are at 62 and at full retirement age. And our next article, how biases can affect your investment decisions. Most economic models are based on the premise that people make rational decisions to maximize economic and financial benefits, but people are not robots. And while we like to think that facts, reason, and logic rule the day, emotions, especially fear, excitement, greed, are also at work. This article highlights some of the most common biases that can influence and affect financial decision making. And I'll just give you one right off the top: confirmation bias. And that is the tendency to assign more authority to opinions we already agree with. So you already have an opinion in your head. You've heard the man on TV say the exact same thing. You're like, aha, I knew I was on the right track. And, I'm
right all along.
Exactly. I heard the man on TV say it. What more is there?
I said it first.
Only if they say it on the radio.
Right.
That's a little more powerful.
Exactly. And our next article is tipping fatigue wearing you out. And this article has generated a lot of feedback, and we're thankful for that because we like to pick thought-provoking articles. But, traditionally, tipping has been a way of rewarding workers for providing good or even excellent service, but the norms around tipping are changing. And if you felt more pressure to tip, you are not alone. According to a recent survey, almost 75% of adults said that tipping was expected in more places today than it was 5 years ago. And they're even giving it such names as tip creep and tipflation.
Tipflation.
I had this.
I was going to say, where did you have breakfast this morning?
I went to First Watch.
Again.
Yeah, because the food's pretty decent, and again, the price point is about the same thing as everything else. But they've got a new gimmick going on.
A gimmick.
Yeah, it is. They don't have someone that's standing at the register ready to for you to pay your bill. The waitress does it.
Ah,
this is great. So you're standing there with your waitress, good, bad, or indifferent, and the screen comes up because, of course, I'm charging it because I don't carry cash around. And of course, and you know what the tips and the tip
percentages come up.
Yeah, at 20%. There's no 15% tip anymore.
20%, like, is it just a starting point?
Exactly.
And then you have the pressure of being in front of the person that's getting the tip.
Right.
Wait, is it First Watch a sit-down place, though?
Mm-hmm.
And then you have to go up to pay?
Yes.
Oh.
Starting it at 20%. That's nice,
Hey.
So I understand that. And we certainly have had a lot of discussions with clients about this. Everybody has their opinion about it. And you know what? Tipping is something that's very personal.
Sure.
This article lays out some really helpful guidelines you may want to incorporate. And, you have to remember, tipping is always voluntary. It's up to you to decide who, where, and how much to tip.
Unless you've been peer pressured.
No, you can't get rolled like that. And our last article, do you need to adjust your tax withholdings? Now that tax time is behind us, now may be a good time to adjust your income tax withholdings. Tax withholdings are a balancing act. Withhold too much and you'll receive a refund. Or as my wife likes to say, you gave the U.S. government an interest-free loan. Withhold too little and you'll be left with a tax bill. This article lays out some reasons you may want to change your tax withholdings and how to go about doing it.
It's good. And I was going to say, this is not uncommon for folks because the election to have federal and state income taxes or federal taxes withdrawn from your Social Security benefits It's not an automatic one.
Right. You don't do it as you are electing your Social Security benefit online, or if you happen to be someone that was able to go into the office, you have to fill out a separate form.
And many people skip it, and then they find out, whoop.
Right.
They owe a couple. I mean, generally they're going to owe a couple $1,000s in taxes, and we find in many cases that to save them the aggravation of having to get a form and file it, et cetera, and then wait, we make changes for them.
You know, the one thing that I haven't heard, and I haven't had any clients mention to me, is that if you are having I don't know if you were ever able to have state taxes withheld from your Social Security benefit, but now that Missouri is no longer charging taxes on Social Security, if anyone's made an adjustment there or how you do that. I do know that there's a form to file federally to withhold to withhold federal taxes, which that has not changed. They give you a few options, 8, 12, 15, 20%, or your own dollar amount.
We do call it the Coach's Corner. Easy to access. Just hit our website, jblfinancial.com. Give us your email address and other information, and we'll be happy to send that to you every single month by email.
That's right.
Very good. And again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the usually hot and heavy KTRS text line.
It's quiet right now.
Well, good.
The weather's nice. And also it's Mother's Day weekend. People are still into the yard sale, finding those last minute Mother's Day gifts, maybe.
Okay, so what I'd like to do is pick up. We're going to call this story today, "How should we deal with these taxable distributions?" I guess we talked about this. I want to say about a month ago, where I had a client that passed away. She had two adult children. And these children inherited a combination of assets, some after-tax assets, some pre-tax assets, et cetera. And so I want to talk a little bit about it, and also some annuities. So not only is the taxation of these interesting, and we talked a little bit about that, but now the question becomes, how do we most effectively get this money into their pockets?
The least amount of taxes.
With the least amount of taxes. Because really every discussion that we have with clients always involves taxes.
Right.
Can't avoid that.
No, you can't avoid it. And so how can we be creative with our clients to mitigate their tax situation? So let's talk a little bit about this. We've got two adult children, John and Joan. They're receiving taxable distributions as inheritance from mom's non-qualified, which is a non-IRA fixed annuity, and an inherited IRA. So here's what the facts are. They're each receiving $60,000 of an annuity distribution, of which half of that is taxable. The other half, the $30,000, was actually what mom had put in. And also they have an IRA account, which is required to distribute $4,000 to them during this calendar year. Maybe
we should go back for a quick second, because there is a piece of this. A lot of people would assume that a non-qualified account would get a step up in basis, but unfortunately, if you are holding an annuity in an after-tax account, so a non-qualified annuity, you don't get the same tax treatment as if you inherit stock or inherited property. Exactly. So that means that the basis is incorporated as your non-taxable component, but any growth, this could be a fixed annuity or any other type of annuity that's held outside of an IRA account. The growth inside of that account is going to be taxable to the beneficiaries.
Yes, unless you've been making distributions. Think about siphoning the interest or earnings off the top.
So if mom had been siphoning the earnings off the top.
Which she wasn't, and it isn't unusual that folks don't.
Because usually they're sold by saying, let's defer taxes and create growth.
Right, and usually in the fixed annuity market as of today, the interest rate offerings are very similar to those offered by banks in their savings certificates. But with an annuity, you have income tax deferred growth until you decide to take it. In this case, mom didn't want to take it, and so she didn't. So again, $30,000 of taxable income from there, and also $4,000 from as a required minimum distribution on an inherited IRA, which we know the total of the account has to be distributed within a 10-year period.
Must be emptied.
Yes, this is year one.
And was mom over 73 years old.
Yeah,
when
she was.
taking
Yeah, she was.
distributions.
So that $4,000 is actually what her distribution would have been this year.
So in
yeah.
addition to inheriting the IRA, you also, listener out there, you're inheriting your mom's or dad's RMD schedule as well. Important little reminder.
Very good, Rob. Absolutely. So the total taxable amount that we need to deal with here is $34,000. Now, both John and Joan are in their late 50s.
So they're still working.
They're also at the, frankly, very close to, if not in their peak earning years. They're not in the 10% tax bracket, either of them.
So that means the taxes could be considerable.
Right. It could be almost a third, which is a possibility. So the question is, what options could we make available to them to reduce this $34,000 of taxable income? We had a little fun with this because they're not the same.
Two different situations.
So, Rob, why don't you start with the first one? Let's talk a little bit about John.
Well, John is putting $12,000 a year into his 401k plan. His wife is putting $12,000, also putting aside $12,000 a year. So, but they're eligible to put away a maximum of $30,000, $500 every year. So, in theory, we could turn that up, make them put more money into their 401ks while they're taking the distribution and the taxable annuity income from mom's estate.
Well, in this case, as you said,
they're only putting $12,000 aside.
So they've
each.
got $18,500 of available room, if you want to think about it. That's $37,000, which they could reduce their taxable income by.
And absorb the full $34,000.
Exactly. So in essence, what's really happening is indirectly they can take mom's annuity and IRA and move it into their tax-deferred savings account.
Right. Unfortunately, we can't.
It's not a one-for-one.
Well, we can't make contributions directly to 401k accounts. The only way you can get money in is by making a payroll deduction.
Right.
So it's not a direct transfer of mom's assets into John's 401k, but what we're doing is saying reduce your income by increasing your contributions by, over the course of the year, John and his wife buy that $34,000 to meet the $34,000 that they'll be taking as a distribution. They'll owe taxes on the $34,000, but they'll get the deduction on the $34,000 at the end of the year when they file their taxes.
Well, because
for
their taxable income has been reduced.
Right.
Now, with most people, if we were to say to them, put another $34,000 reduce your pay by $34,000 and put it into your retirement plans. They're going to choke or either choke or they'll throw something at us. Right?
Can't afford
it.
Right.
The nice part for John here is that we'd already made and we deposited $60,000 into his IRA. Into his non-retirement account, which was the annuity distribution.
Right, but $30,000 of it wasn't taxable to him. That's why we're only accounting for the $30,000 that was.
So if they needed the money, we could send it back to them. So in theory, what happens is we would be reducing it on a pre-tax and then pulling the money and reimbursing ourselves on an after-tax basis. Beautiful.
Awesome.
But Joan was a little different.
So Joan is 62 and she's self-employed, and she was only making IRA contributions of $7,500 per year. However, because she's self-employed, she's eligible for what's called a SEP plan, where we can contribute up to 25% of her gross income. So there are different types of retirement plans depending upon how you are employed, how many employees either work for you or companies that you work for, which all have different contribution limits. Joan was contributing just to an individual IRA, which has essentially the lowest contribution limits. We could increase those contribution limits based on 25% of her gross income.
So let's assume for a moment that Joan is earning $60,000 per year. That means she would be eligible for a $15,000 contribution to her SEP, as well as the $7,500 contribution to her IRA.
Now we're at $22,500.
Right. The cool part here is that the SEP contribution is actually being made by her
employer.
Which is her. And the IRA contribution is being made by her.
So she's in a
The
situation
individual.
where she can do both, whereas
Right.
John and his wife can't do both maximum 401k contributions and IRA contributions because of their income.
Exactly. So also one other thing was because Joan is self-employed, she also has her own health insurance plan. She isn't eligible. She's 55 years old. She's not eligible for Medicare at this point.
62.
I'm sorry. Thank you.
So because she has an HSA plan, she's able to contribute another $4,100 pre-tax, meaning she'll get a deduction for that. The even cooler part about this is a triple tax advantaged account, meaning it's going to grow tax deferred, and when she uses it for health expenses, there's no taxes when she takes the money out. But now she'll be able to reduce her tax liability by the $15,000 of SEP contributions, the $7,500 of IRA contributions, and the $4,150 of HSA contributions.
So that's 26,000 out of the 26,600 out of the 34,000. Not a bad result. And again, if she needed the money, actually she needed the cash to replace what we're putting into these retirement plans and HSAs. We have the 60,000 that we just banked for.
Right. So Joan's going to have a little bit of a taxable event because we couldn't quite shelter all
Right.
of the $34,000 distribution, but it went from a $34,000 taxable event down to about less than $8,000. It looks like.
Yes.
It's pretty awesome.
So what's interesting is that this brother and sister, their situations were a little different. Their marital situations were different. Their employment situations were different. But we were able to craft some solutions for them that would help them reduce their tax liability. So it's really important to get with your advisor when you have these events. Hopefully they're helping you work through, engineer these. So you can get the best tax event, because unfortunately, once you pay Uncle Sam, it's over. Right?
Right.
This is true. And, if Joan made a little bit more money, because the maximum SEP contribution was, we looked it up yesterday, $69,000. So had she made more money, we would have been able to shelter her a little bit more. But,
And the great thing about SEP contributions, just like IRA contributions, is Joan can wait until the very end of the year into next year when she files her taxes. If her income slightly increases, we could continue to increase that number. So she doesn't have to make that decision today.
Right.
But we know down the line she'll be able to make the maximum.
So, what we did with Joan was that we put in what we thought was her bottom end.
Up front.
Right, the 7,500. We did the 4,150 for the HSA, and then we put in the 15,000 because we knew she was going to earn at least 60. And then
When she goes to her accountant next year, we can say if there's anything more, we can add some more into that SEP.
yeah, and the neat part again is she has the cash to replenish her bucket if she needs to, her income.
That's awesome. Before we take our first break of this hour, we have an excellent text question.
And our texter right. How does it work if I start taking Social Security before retiring? Well, you'd be subject to the Social Security take back rules, and under normal retirement age, Social Security takes back $1 for every two that you earn over $22,340. Now, the year you turn full retirement age, they take back $1 for every three that you earn over $59,520. So you get a little bit of a break the year you turn normal retirement age, but every year under that, they're going to take back one for every two over $22,320.
And this is earned income. It's not distributions from retirement accounts.
Wages.
It's just wages. So it's less about before retiring, but really about before retiring, before you reach a certain age, meaning your normal retirement age.
Yes, exactly. And that's why some folks want to pull the trigger,
Right.
but they don't. And I think where we've seen this most commonly is in situations where one spouse has passed away. Surviving spouse is still working. they're eligible for the survivor benefit, but the problem is they're making too much money.
Right. The survivor benefit, the spousal benefit, all Social Security benefits are subject to the take back if you are under your normal retirement age, even though the survivor benefit you're eligible to begin taking at 60 years old.
Yes. And again, you're obviously claiming off your spouse's record, but we've seen in several cases where the surviving spouse, their income was obviously greater than $22,000 per year, and so therefore they would be giving back $1 for every $2 that they earned over that.
And it's important that these are good rules of thumb to follow every year. However, the numbers do slightly change based on cost of living adjustment. So every year you can take a look at what your income limitations are. They usually go up a little bit.
I know with a lot of our clients who are, they're done, out of there. We always wait a little bit before electing Social Security because you never know if someone could get called back on a situation where they just make you an offer that you just can't refuse, and you don't want to be subject to those take-back limitations.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because the big deal is that if once you elect your Social Security benefits, you begin to receive them, you do have up to 1 year, the first year,
to pay them back.
But if you don't, what you've done is you've frozen in that benefit.
And you're potentially getting a little bit less too.
Right. Especially if you're over the limit, then you're getting some of it, but you're not getting all of it that you could be because it's in the take back. And then when you do stop,
you didn't get any of those increases that you could have gotten.
That's right. Exactly. So it's an interesting balancing act, to say the least.
It's a war game.
Yes, it is. And our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. We ate up the first half hour. We'll be back right after these messages.
For over 50 years, Mazza's has been a local family-owned restaurant known for delicious Italian food the whole family can enjoy. And Mazza's St. Charles will be hosting a Mother's Day lunch and brunch on Sunday, May 12th to celebrate all the amazing moms out there. They'll be serving their normal menu plus a limited menu pack with delicious treats just for Mother's Day. Call 636-925-2961 or visit mazzasofcourse.com and click on St. Charles for more information and to make your Mother's Day reservation for lunch, brunch, or dinner. And the new banquet room is available for private events. It's Mazza's, of course.
Have a ball on the official St. Louis Cardinal cruise to the Caribbean January 25th through February 1st, 2025. Holland America Line and Altair Travel and Cruises have put together an unforgettable getaway that includes cocktail parties with Cardinal alum, photo and autograph sessions, and incredible stops in San Juan, St. Thomas, and the Bahamas. The St. Louis Cardinal Cruise benefiting Cardinal Care. Call Altair Travel and Cruises, 314-968-9600. That's 314-968-9600 or altairtravel.com.
We searched the globe for the world's best furniture, and what I've found is some of the best quality is made right here in the USA. With superior construction, durable fabrics, and custom comfort options, Miller Furniture is proud to bring the largest selection of American-made furniture to the St. Louis area. Whether it's Smith Brothers in Bern, Indiana, or Oakwood Industries in Memphis, Missouri, our suppliers are family-owned and operated too. You'll see a variety of styles in stock and custom order options at any of our 3 locations, including our newest showroom in Ellisville on Manchester Road.
It's summertime. Well, not yet, but as the weather warms up, warm up your oven and spend a family pizza night with Dogtown. Dogtown Pizza, that is. And with 11 different varieties, there's something for everyone. Pepperoni for Pat, deluxe for Diane. And don't forget the hot wing pizza, a party favorite. As the nights get longer, don't slave over the stove. Enjoy those family evenings and make it Dogtown for dinner.
The Big 550 KTRS, your home for the Missouri Tigers, is proud to join the Griggs LaPointe SEC Summit this Tuesday night at Greenbrier Hills Country Club. We'll be broadcasting live with the Kilcoyne Conversation and the Big Sports Show from 6 until 9 o'clock. We'll be joined by Dennis Gates, Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri System President Moon Choi, and new Athletics Director Laird Veach. It's this Tuesday night, starting at 6, the Griggs LaPointe Mizzou SEC Summit on the Big 550.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
9:34 here on the Big 550 KTRS Talk Radio St. Louis. We're here to answer your phone calls as well as your text message at 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
And we have Al, who's been holding through the break, has a Social Security question for us. Good morning.
Good morning, guys. I appreciate you taking my call. I hope I can explain this correctly. I talked to a lady at Social Security back in December about starting to draw my Social Security. I just turned 64 in April. And the way she explained it is, if I wait until, let's say, July, and I've made well over the limit. What's the limit? 20,000?
22,320.
Okay, so say I made up to 30,000. So in July, I say, I want to start drawing my Social Security. The way she explained it, what I made up until that does not count. It's what I make after that. Is that correct?
That is correct. So they give you a 1 year. So the year that you elect, you get a grace period for the subsequent months. You cannot earn over that 22,000 Rob just mentioned in the subsequent months after electing your Social Security benefit, or you will then again be subject to the take back.
Oh, okay. And then when January rolls around, it starts over, so I can make up to 22,000 before they take back.
That's correct, and you'll just want to double check on those limits next year because they should go up slightly every year. They increase for cost of living adjustments.
Oh, okay. Now, I work with a guy, and I don't know how this works out. He told me that he's been getting Social Security for a couple of years, and when he hits that 22,000 limit, he contacts Social Security and tells them to stop sending him checks, and does that make sense?
Well, it makes sense in that you can do that. However, all you're doing is he's kind of shooting himself in the foot in two ways. Number one, he's not getting the income at all from Social Security because they're only going to take back $1 for every 2 that you earn over the 22,000. But he's locked himself into the benefit 2 years. He missed out on 16% increase of his Social Security benefit by electing and then continuing to earn over the take back limit.
Okay, that makes sense.
So that's why if you are retiring and you don't plan to work and you don't plan to earn more than that 22,000 for the rest of the year, it might make sense to take Social Security. But if for the next several years you're planning to earn more than what the limitations are, you might consider sticking it out a little bit longer
and letting the benefit grow.
Right.
Well, and what you're doing is you're choosing. Look, if you need the money, what we're talking about doing is choosing an alternative source.
Right.
Most likely, if you're retiring, guess what? That means you have retirement accounts, an IRA, 401k, etc. Draw from there to start, and then when you get to the age that you want to be in terms of electing Social Security, turn the faucet off from the retirement plan, turn on the Social Security faucet.
Right.
Okay, that's great. Can you take another question?
Absolutely.
Oh, okay. This is for someone else, a scenario they have. They're a young couple. They have incurred some credit card debt. They're trying to buy a house. So their lender said if they could pay off that credit card debt, they could get a better, higher credit rating and get a better rate. So they're considering tapping into their 401k to pay off the credit card debt. And so what is it? Does that make sense? But then don't they have to pay that 401k money back in a certain amount of time?
Well, first of all, what you're talking about is making a loan.
Right.
So, and the loan interest is not deductible, but they can make that loan. That loan will be paid, has to be paid back within 5 years, or it becomes taxable income. And the way that it gets paid back is by withholding additional money from their current paycheck.
So they would want to make sure that with the added expense of a mortgage, that the additional income reduction for paying the loan back, they're still going to be able to make everything work.
Right. And really, the truth is what's the difference in the interest rate? I mean, if it's it could be a lot more than the interest that they're paying to the 401k loan.
Right. How much of a difference in their credit rating is it going to make paying off the full credit card? Because you can also pay down your credit card and increase your credit limit. You don't have to have a zero credit card balance to increase your credit score, because what they're looking at is usage. So if they have some excess capital to pay it down enough to increase their credit score, then maybe there's a balancing act without having to take money from the 401k.
Okay.
I agree. Al, nice questions this morning. Thank you.
Thank you. You were helpful.
Very good. We appreciate that. Again, our phone lines are open. We love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line.
I think that second question is a great one because it represents this mentality that I think I see quite a bit when we're chatting with current clients or even prospective clients, which is an all or nothing. Like, I have to do 100% of something in order to make things work. Whereas, you could work a little and take Social Security. You could pay a little of the credit card debt off and increase your credit score. There's usually an in-between that might be a better outcome.
Good to know, babe. No question about that.
Or should I put all of it into the Roth or all of it into the traditional account? Should we do a little bit of both?
There you go.
Well, maybe the first move on the chessboard is let's get that credit card debt to a place where we're not incurring, crazy amounts of interest. That way each payment that you're making is actually coming off some principal and not just running in place.
That's also a good point. Maybe it's holding off a little bit on the home purchase to make things work.
Maybe. Exactly. So, and it's curious because obviously Al's younger people were folks that were under the age of 59 and a half, right? Under normal retirement age, less than 50. And we do have a lot of clients, again, we like to say 55 and older, that are in that twilight zone area, okay? They may have retired early. They're not eligible to take withdrawals from IRAs to bypass the 10% early withdrawal fee if you're under the age of 59 and a half. So many times they'll have questions about, what can we do? Well, what's nice about the Internal Revenue Code is it truly is a playbook.
Right.
And there are lots of plays and options that you have in this playbook that you can use if you become eligible, so that you can bypass that 10% early withdrawal fee if, in fact, you do need to make a withdrawal.
Before we get to some of those plays in the playbook, let's get to Lynn, who has a question about Veterans Trust benefits.
Okay. Lynn, good morning.
Good morning.
What's your question?
My husband is in a memory care facility, which costs about $80,000 a year. And I had talked to an elder lawyer, and he sort of recommended that in order to expand my benefit, my assets, that I should set up a Veterans Irrevocable Trust, which I can divert some of his money into that trust. And then when the veterans look at his assets, they don't look at that trust, but they just look at what you have in your accounts. And then they do a 3-year look back to see if you apply or eligible for veterans benefits, which would come about $3,000 a month. So I'm just wondering, is this a legitimate avenue for me to take to protect my assets and extend my benefits?
So a veterans trust is specific to veterans. However, it's
Correct.
almost identical to an irrevocable trust that you would use in a Medicaid spend down situation.
Right. So what we believe, you're obviously getting legal advice. We're not lawyers, so we're not going to provide you legal advice. But most elder attorneys are pretty sharp when it comes to this stuff. So I would certainly suggest that this might be good advice for you. The real question, though, is that, there is an income tax impact here. If you have assets that are IRAs, you have to basically sell them
in order to get them into the trust.
And move them into the trust.
Right.
And this can be very expensive. Also, a very difficult issue that you have to deal with. And obviously, we have some clients that have been in this situation before, is your husband's health. Is he going to have that longevity? to where
it makes sense to pay the income tax.
Exactly. We've had two situations. I guess they were fortunate they were both husbands for the widows, that we were about to transfer money into these trusts and make the sales, etc., and the husband passed away.
I would also say, for your peace of mind, when you're chatting with the attorney, just ask them not only he's already discussed the benefits with you. Have him explain, or her, the drawbacks or what the alternative options might be, so you feel as though you've heard all angles of what the impact of moving these monies into the trust, one of which would be tax implications.
Well, and also, yes, and you can also do this without going into a wealth transfer trust. You can also use what they call a Medicaid annuity, which is to, again, go through the sale, but then you give the money to an insurance company who hands it back to you fast. And the distributions on the way back to you are also not included as a part of
your income.
Exactly.
So there are some other options out there.
And I would certainly suggest you discuss that. And we've obviously helped clients with that if that's been in need,
right,
as well. But we do
with the Medicare annuity, you don't pay taxes on that?
No, you don't. You don't pay any tax on the withdrawal because they're actually giving your money back. It's an immediate annuity, it isn't a deferred one. So, as an example, you might have a payback that could be over a 3-5 year period.
You get to make those elections too.
That's correct. And what's happening here is you're still paying the income taxes on the conversion of your IRAs into cash. You don't get to bypass that, but what also happens is you're not locking it up into a trust where, frankly, you may never be able to get your hands on it.
Right, you're getting the money back so you're paying the taxes, but then you're receiving the money back from the insurance company in the form of an annuity payment.
Yes.
I see. Okay. All right.
Well, again, talk to your lawyer, and thanks for the call.
All right. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Bye.
Tough ones.
That's. I think maybe we should hop to our second break of the hour. When we get back, we can discuss a few plays from the early withdrawal from your retirement accounts playbook.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on Retirement after these messages.
If you have a problem with the IRS, believe me, it's not going away on its own. The IRS never gives up. They have endless resources, so they control the game. Well, your tax problems can end. I'm attorney Lance Drury with the Drury Law Firm, a local tax resolution firm with an A+ rating from the Better Business Bureau. I've handled thousands of IRS cases over the last 15 years. So when you hire me, you won't be speaking long distance or sending money to some TV pitchman that's riddled with consumer complaints. Your first visit is completely free and confidential, and I'll tell you on the spot exactly how much it will cost. So call me, Lance Drury, at 314-260-6120. That's 314-260-6120. Or go to LanceDruryLaw.com. If you have IRS issues, you need a local attorney. You need me, Lance Drury.
The choice of a lawyer is an important decision and should not be based solely upon advertisements.
We searched the globe for the world's best furniture, and what I've found is some of the best quality is made right here in the USA. With superior construction, durable fabrics, and custom comfort options, Miller Furniture is proud to bring the largest selection of American-made furniture to the St. Louis area. Whether it's Smith Brothers in Bern, Indiana, or Oakwood Industries in Memphis, Missouri, our suppliers are family-owned and operated too. You'll see a variety of styles in stock and custom order options at any of our 3 locations, including our newest showroom in Ellisville on Manchester Road.
Hi, everybody. This is Dr. Dan Lang. Join me every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 on the Big 550 for Animal Talk, where I talk about everything regarding dogs, cats, and other domestic animals. Topics include nutrition, training, medical checkups, special guests show up now and then, and of course, I'll answer your questions. So join me every Sunday afternoon from 2 to 3 for Animal Talk on the Big 550 KTRS, the Animal Talk of St. Louis.
This is Erin Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
We're back. 11 minutes left in this current hour. We have hour number 2 on tap and ready to go, but we're here to answer your questions by phone, telephone. Actually, we've had more telephone calls today than text.
That's rare.
Phone lines open, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. Before we took our last call, we were beginning to have a discussion about 8 ways that you can avoid the 10% early withdrawal fee on making a withdrawal from your IRA. And this, again, is only dealing with folks that are under the age of 59 and a half.
Because if you're over, you can withdraw as much as you'd like. You just owe taxes.
Right.
Before we get to these, I do want to make one comment back again from our last caller.
Mm-hmm.
Always listen to the lawyer. Period.
Right.
Period. I mean, we're happy to provide advice, but the truth is that you want to depend on your lawyer, and especially someone who's a specialist like an elder attorney. That's who you need.
Right, because you're dealing with intricate government
guidelines and policies.
Exactly. Thank you.
And they're also the ones generally that are also going to assist you and charge you to do the Medicaid enrollment.
Right. They
That's
help
their
you
big
with
deal.
the application process, which can be very difficult and costly if you don't do it correctly. So you really have employed someone, because they are on your payroll, like you said, Dad, you're going to pay them, to give you expert advice and assistance in a very specialized area.
And I would also say that having had the privilege to working with several of these folks here in the St. Louis metro area, we have great attorneys.
Absolutely. We've worked with several. And we've had a few listeners who have sent me emails, aaron@jblfinancial.com. If you are in need of an elder care attorney, you'd like a referral, we're always happy to give a referral to you of someone that we have worked with on our client's behalf in the past.
Very good. So let's talk about some of the 8 ways that we can avoid these early withdrawal penalties for you youngsters, the pre-59 and a halfers. The first one is, first couple ones are kind of obvious. One is death.
You're not avoiding the penalty. That would be the person that inherits the money is avoiding the penalty.
Well, you're also avoiding many other like women-created holidays like Valentine's Day and Mother's Day and all that kind of stuff.
That would only be if the woman died.
Well, this is the death of an IRA owner. So if it was the husband, he would be missing all those food-eating things as well as holiday vacations.
This is a morbid.
Death of the IRA owner. Also, it could be the permanent disability of an IRA owner.
So this one we see much more frequently, which is if you have become permanently disabled, and this is a qualification based on Social Security. It's not just based on if you've qualified for private long-term disability. So you have to be careful here. Then you would be able to begin access to your IRA accounts if necessary. And there is no limitation on how much you can take for these 2 particular these 2 particular ways to avoid the penalty, the death of an owner, or if you've become permanently disabled. There aren't any limitations on how much you can take out of the account.
And all those distributions, again, are taxable. Rob, what's a couple other ones of these?
Well, the third one, it's also dealing with not death, but health-related. They can be used to pay non-reimbursed medical expenses, provided that those medical expenses are more than 7.5% of your adjusted gross income. So the first 3 are death, medical expenses, and permanent disability. So we'll just kind of lump those 3 together.
And the IRS has matched up with the non-reimbursable medical expenses. The 7.5% is when your medical expenses become tax deductible over 7.5% of your income, over 7.5% of your income.
If you're itemizing.
Correct.
Now we get into some of the fun ones. Well, I think they're fun. I mean, you can take up to a one-time lifetime limit of $10,000 if you're buying your first home.
Right. So it's a one-time because you're only going to buy your first house one time.
Exactly.
And $10,000 is the maximum that you can take.
Well, I mean, it's a fun one because you didn't have to die, become physically disabled or,
didn't have to die to get your money.
have more medical problems in a math book.
Right.
To take advantage of it.
And with 10,000 these days, you can certainly get invested in a tiny house, so it's all good, right?
Fair, right. Dashing dreams and hopes.
There are also a couple of other things you can use these for. First thing is higher educational expenses. College can be expensive, but thankfully certain higher educational costs for you, or spouses, and/or children or grandchildren can be withdrawn penalty-free. Again, you're still going to owe federal taxes on this. However, there's a lot of literature on it.
You are going to pay taxes on every single one of these distributions. You are just avoiding the 10% penalty that comes above and beyond what you would have paid in taxes.
Taxes are always due.
Exactly. Oh, this is a great one. I mean, this is probably the most ironic one there is.
Money used to pay back taxes to the IRS after a levy has been placed against the IRA. This is not the kind of exemption which you really want to qualify for, but it may save you some money if you find yourself in an uncomfortable position with the IRS.
So I would assume this means that not only did they put a lien against your income in order to get the taxes back, now they've put a lien against your other assets, which means you may owe considerable back taxes.
Exactly. And so this is a nice tax-free way to do this, expense-free way to do this, unlike calling somebody on TV that you're seeing making lots of commercials. Withdrawals also can be used to pay for medical insurance premiums. If you're out of a job, you won't be penalized for using retirement money to pay for your medical insurance as long as you've been unemployed for at least 12 weeks. So in other words, you had to come up with the first 3 months of COBRA yourself, and then you can dip into your IRA and it will reimburse yourself for those 3 months or continue on, which is great. So,
and this one you have to be careful with, because if you're going to use an Affordable Care Act policy, then you might be increasing your premium by taking withdrawals from your IRA account, because those are taxable. So even if you are considering one of these options, you also probably should consult with a financial professional or a tax specialist before you make any final decisions on early withdrawals.
Yes, and the last one is a withdrawal that's made on or after the day the IRA owner turns 59 and a half.
So this is a hard and fast rule. You have to be over 59 and a half in order to start making withdrawals. It can't be the year you turn 59 and a half, which is different than when you become required minimum distribution eligible. The year right now is 73. You can begin distributions from a retirement account that will qualify for the full required minimum distribution before you turn 73. Whereas if you turn 59 and a half on June 25th, you have to wait until June 25th to make the withdrawal. And this is recorded on your your custodian records when the distribution happened. So you have to make sure that the money doesn't come out until you actually have turned 59 and a half.
Yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, all of these things are big deals. The important thing here, folks, is get some advice. That's really where it is, because what happens is that all these things are happening inside of a tax year. And if you want to maximize or minimize the amount of tax you're paying, make sure you're doing things the right way. Get some advice.
There's also an important caveat to every single one of these distributions, which is all of these qualifying exemptions are subject to a 5-year waiting period, which means if anyone was clever and thought, well, I can make a I can make a contribution to my retirement account, get the deduction, and then automatically make a withdrawal. So you're, evening it out in some way. You can't do that.
The account has to be in existence for 5 years.
The contribution has to have been in there for 5 years. Right. So you can't keep adding and taking out.
Kind of like a Roth, where if it hasn't been established for 5 years, any of the interest that you take out is subject to income tax, not tax-free. Cool. So,
exactly.
So 8 different ways to do this if you need to. And frankly, again, we love the rule book because there are exceptions to the rules.
There are. And it's good to know what they are and when you can take advantage of them.
And it's good to know who knows who they are, right?
Got to know that playbook.
Absolutely. Well, again, what's fun here is that we've enjoyed our first hour Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877, or 84126 on the KTRS text line. When we come back for hour number 2, we'll be starting our discussion about Medicare.
That's right.
Because you care, we talk Medicare.
Exactly. And, again, if you are 55 or older, you would like to retire, or you're already retired, and you'd like to come in for a coaching session with Aaron, Rob, or I, give us a call, 314-863-0008. Or if you like, you can go to our website, jblfinancial.com. Click on the Contact Us button up in the upper right-hand corner. Send us a little note. Our staff would be more than happy to contact you and arrange a convenient time for you to come and visit us in our beautiful world headquarters in wild, wonderful downtown Olivet.
We'll be back after these messages.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talk and Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Welcome back to Straight Talk on Retirement. Kicking off our second hour.
And we're going to kick off our second hour with a holdover text question from the first hour. It snuck in there under the wire. And our texter writes, I am 63 and retired. My wife is 53 and working. We are in the top tax bracket. When should I take Social Security?
Well, from the texter, to me, it sounds as if his wife is a high-income earner because they're in the top tax bracket while he's retired, unless they're making substantial withdrawals from retirement accounts. I would say, what would the first question you need to ask yourself be?
Do you need the income?
Right. If you are making distributions from retirement accounts to make up income from your retirement, you might consider taking Social Security because it's 15% less taxable than distributions from retirement accounts. However, if you and your wife are currently living off of her income comfortably, why pay taxes on money that you are not consuming?
Number one rule.
Absolutely. The second would be, depending upon the differential between your Social Security benefit and your wife's potential Social Security benefit several years from now, are you looking to increase your benefit over time to make up a difference if one of you passes away?
A spousal or survivor benefit, if that was important to you, you would wait. But if that's not a concern and you don't need the money, then you would wait as well.
Right. And depending upon when your wife is deciding to retire, that might be the decision point in you electing your Social Security benefit to start making up income from both of your wages now that you will both be retired.
You know, Social Security is an interesting, when to take that election is a very interesting question because there's so many variables that go into it. That
it's a very personalized decision,
right.
Although there are guidelines as to what might make sense. Each person's and each family's considerations can be very different.
I like our hard and fast rules, though. You don't pay taxes on money you're not consuming.
Especially if you're in the top tax bracket.
Right.
No need for that.
Exactly. That's generally our view. And then the correct one, I would say.
Well then, let's get to Wes for our smart choices about your healthcare segment.
One moment, if I may put a halt on Wes, if we can.
Pardon us.
During the break, I was thinking a little bit more deeply and doing some research on...
More deeply?
Mother's Day.
You were doing research on Mother's Day?
Yes. And it's interesting is that there aren't too many things that everyone on the planet could agree on, but they should. Mother's Day should be a universal holiday across the entire planet because none of us...
Across the entire planet?
Yes. None of us could celebrate any holiday if it wasn't for our mother.
I do think that there are different countries celebrate Mother's Day at different times.
Well, actually, the UK does. They usually celebrate it on the 10th of March. But I think
Mexico celebrates it like last week, too.
Yes.
Humanity needs to get its act together here.
Actually, it's also celebrated in India, Canada, Australia, and most of Europe, but not Africa, not necessarily Asia. We're all South America, so guess what? Let's do it.
It's a little
Universal
surprising.
Mother's Day.
It's a little surprising about Asia because they're very family focused. They're, you have multiple generations living together, very focused on elder generations.
Yeah, how about those other continents jump on board for the big win called Mother's Day?
Right. We could all come together as humanity for Mother's Day.
Yes.
A 360 win.
A 360 win. Let's talk about a 360 win for Wes, unless there's any more fun facts you have about Mother's Day that you'd like to add.
Not at this moment.
All right, then.
But they could sneak it later.
We are standing by.
Everybody wants a fun fact.
Standing back and standing by. Let's talk about Wes. Wes is coming on to Medicare in June. He is turning 65 and he has chosen to retire.
Congratulations, Wes.
Woohoo.
Retiring, summer is a great time to retire.
Isn't it?
Because you can actually be out, especially if you're going to stay in this area, you can actually be outside, do all the things that, you're looking out your office window wishing you were doing if you're still working.
It's always better to be outside than locked up because it's frigid outside.
Well, we also talk about that. Unless you're in the healthcare industry or law enforcement, retiring in the fall and winter, you're missing out on all the holidays that you would get off anyway. So
that's right.
Year-end bonus.
Sure.
So Wes did some research on Medicare, and he was trying to read that book, Medicare and You, but the more he read, the more confused he became.
Which is not surprising.
Not uncommon at all. And one of Wes's main concerns was that he always had to have dental. He's heard some Medicare plans may help with dental, so he was more interested to learn about those plans. Wes had decent dental, common medications.
Decent health,
common medications, and was living on a budget. When we asked Wes about his dental, he mentioned that he had a couple of extractions and he needed implants. When we were looking at Medicare Advantage plans for him that included dental, one concern he had was he did not want to be in an HMO because he had always heard it was inconvenient to get referrals.
So Wes didn't do a terrible job at all in terms of research. He was able to guide himself towards those Medicare Advantage plans, which do offer dental included. Just as a caveat to this conversation, we never want to make our medical decisions based on the extra benefits available, even if they may be top of mind to you in the moment. So, Wes's main concern is dental. However, we still want to make sure that the physicians that Wes currently sees or wants to be able to see and the prescriptions that Wes is currently taking fit into a Medicare Advantage plan, and then take a look at what dental offerings are going to be available. That could be a final decision point, but it certainly shouldn't be the tail that wags the dog, so to speak.
No, you certainly don't want to join a plan because of the over-the-counter benefits.
So traditional Medicare policies, when we're talking about the supplements, they do not offer dental included in almost every situation. Basically, what you've done on the traditional Medicare side of your options is you're piecing your coverage together. You have your A and B benefits that come directly from the government. You're going to add a supplement that's going to cover the medical side of your Medicare coverage. You're going to add a prescription drug plan that's going to cover the prescription side. All of those four parts together make up your comprehensive medical policy. And then you can add an additional private dental policy. You can add a vision policy if you so choose. We often find that with individual vision, you are prepaying an exam. So, self-funding vision usually makes sense. On the dental side, there are some decent options available if you have elected traditional Medicare that you can couple with your coverage to create a dental benefit for you. However, you're going to be paying a premium every month for that additional dental. Usually the way the dental works on the individual side is, unlike when you had group health insurance and you're paying maybe $5-10 a month, usually those premiums are closer to $30 a month and your maximum benefit is in the $2,000 range. So if you subtract your premium from the dental, you're really only getting around $1,500 of actual dental benefit per year. Right?
It's good to know. But there are some plans that offer a little bit better benefit, right?
That's right. Like Wes mentioned, those Medicare Advantage plans.
Medicare Advantage has got all-inclusive, some of them, dental, vision, hearing, over-the-counter, and gym memberships.
That's right. So one thing that Wes probably missed in that Medicare New Book is many of the plans in the Missouri and Illinois area that are HMO-style plans do not require referrals any longer. You want to check with the specific plan that you are looking at. But, for example, one of the more popular plans, the Aetna Gold Advantage, no longer requires referrals. The United Healthcare HMOs no longer require referrals. You do have to stay in-network. There are no out-of-network benefits unless it's an emergency or an urgency. But you can see whomever you'd like in network without having to call the primary first to ask for a referral.
I'm so glad they've taken that extra step out of there. It really makes things a lot more convenient.
Well, I think what has happened over time is as the healthcare industry started to change. First, we started with the HMO style policies back in the 80s, right? That's when they were first introduced, and they were relatively small. Most of those HMOs, all of your physicians were located in the same building. You had to take your referral. First, you had to go see the primary care doctor. You had to pay your copay for the primary care doctor. Then you would walk your referral or mail your referral to the specialist. Then you had to pay that copay as well. The plan started to move towards these PPO-style plans, which alleviated the referrals but increased the cost slightly because you had more choice. Now, as the plans have moved back towards HMO-style plans, the networks are significantly larger because the plans have had time to negotiate contracts with the hospitals. But in addition to that, because more people are flocking to the HMO-style plans, it was putting a lot of pressure on the hospital systems to be able to create all these referrals. So one of the ways to alleviate some of that pressure was to alleviate the referral requirement.
Oh, that's a great thing that they've decided to do. Because can you imagine how annoying it is knowing you had to see a specialist only to have to go to your primary care physician first so that he can tell you what you already knew, and then you have to pay the go. It's just like whole extra step. That
there is a whole extra step, but the one nice thing about the HMO system that is still in place is that the primary care doctor really still is what they like to say is the quarterback to your care, or
the gatekeeper.
The gatekeeper of your care is the terminology that United Healthcare uses, and that can be of assistance, especially to individuals that have increased need for care. We've seen people that you can have multiple specialists, and maybe they are all prescribing you the same medication, and none of them know that. Yeah. Well, in the HMO system, all of your medical records go back to the primary care doctor so they can try to help alleviate drug interactions, duplication of prescriptions, or also duplication of testing. So it hopefully, in the long run, can save you some money if not every year is your first visit going to be to the primary care doctor. Maybe you have a visit to your cardiologist or another specialist. If they do your blood work for you, there's no need for another specialist within a certain amount of time to redo that blood work unless, you have an issue. So they can transfer your medical records between your physicians, hopefully avoiding unnecessary or additional testing. So
that's always a good thing.
There are some benefits.
Well, what's important here is that, and really it's always been this way, we used to think of HMOs as being very restrictive in terms of the networks. But by agreeing to stay within the networks, and again, today's networks are large and robust, you get extra benefits. There are incentives that they provide, right?
There are. And, if we look at Aetna's HMO, getting $250 for dental to cover implants. And the Aetna PPO, you have $1,500 dental allowance with no dental network.
Right. So neither the HMO or the PPO have a dental network. You aren't paying a premium to access these benefits, which means that the $3,250 on the HMO and the $1,500 on the PPO, that's pure. You get that day one. You also don't have any waiting periods. So that means, Wes is going to enroll in Medicare for June 1st. He will have $3,200. If he elected the HMO, he'd have $3,250 of dental benefits from June to December. And then whatever the new dental benefit might be starting January 1st, it's going to start over again. Now, we've used Aetna in this example just because they happen to have one of the larger dental benefits this year, but United Healthcare also offers an excellent dental benefit of $1,000 a year. Humana is offering $3,000 or $2,500, depending upon what policy you choose. These are pretty significant benefits that you are not having to pay premium to access.
Well, and then one other thing I might add here, honey, when you're on a traditional dental insurance plan, usually provided through your employer, you do have 100% coverage for your cleanings.
Preventative, yeah.
But then you go into a deductible,
right?
Usually $50 to $100, and then there's 80-20 type coverage on certain levels of benefits, and then 50% on other levels.
And then a maximum benefit.
Right, usually to about $1,000 a year, which most people were using inside of their cleanings and things like that, and x-rays. This is a dollar for dollar benefit. This is a first dollar benefit.
That's right. And there's no waiting period. So unlike with medical benefits, where as long as you transition in a timely manner so you don't have any gaps in coverage, pre-existing conditions, there are no limitations on pre-existing conditions, meaning you get first day medical coverage. Dental does not work that way. If you are transitioning off of a dental policy, even if you immediately transition onto a new dental policy, there are usually 6 to 12 month waiting periods on minor and major dental expenses. So if Wes needs implants June 3rd and he has a private dental policy that he elects, he's going to have to wait 12 months in order to access that benefit versus day one with the Medicare Advantage plan benefits.
You know, and in a 12-month period, if he comes on in June, I mean, between the $3,200 that he'll be, if he elects the Aetna HMO, between the $3,200 he'll get right then and there, when that benefit rolls over in the next year. I mean, we don't know exactly what that benefit will be, but it will be something. So
even if it's in that same range, he'll
right,
get another
I mean,
$3,000 right away.
Look, $6,500 in dental within a 12-month period, like, woohoo.
Well, just think about it. I mean, poor Wes, he'll be Bucktooth Bessie if he doesn't get this.
Oh my God. Or just in a lot of pain, or you're paying for a benefit that you're not going to have access to for quite some time. So that's another important thing to consider, and not to only focus on the Medicare Advantage side of things. If you do elect a supplement and you do want dental, it probably makes sense if you have immediate dental needs, if you're coming off of group medical, to elect the COBRA, because then you will have continuous coverage, meaning day one when you leave your employer and versus the first day on COBRA, you could actually continue to access those dental benefits versus leaving your group health insurance, a group dental policy, and electing a private policy where that waiting period would come into effect.
And again, under COBRA, you could expect a maximum of 18 months coverage. So you're still going to have to. So you're still going to have to make a decision 18 months from now.
And what I've seen some people elect to do, especially if they are hyper-focused on continuous dental coverage, is pay the COBRA and then begin their private policy right away. So they're still getting access to the minor and the major through COBRA, and then dropping the COBRA as soon as the minor and major dental benefits come into effect with their new policy, which is probably 6 to 12 months old at that point. So you might be doubling up on premiums for a while just to access the benefits sooner.
Well, that's another significant advantage of Medicare Advantage plans that already have dental included, where you don't have those waiting periods.
No, but there are other peripheral benefits that come with some of those Medicare Advantage plans. For instance, $200 to $300 for glasses, frames, and contact lenses. You know, I just had to have a new set of glasses concocted for me, and you know that ran like $400.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah.
Got to go back to work.
Right, you have a reason to get up every morning, as your dad likes to say, and
we just got a message that people are sheltering in place because of allergies and the swarms of cicadas, so don't retire in the summer.
You know, it's interesting because I was playing golf yesterday and somebody was saying to me that they hadn't heard the cicadas. And in our house, it's deafening at night.
They are loud over at the Lapidus residence.
It's deafening.
I asked you what that was. I was like, what is that? And you're like, oh yeah, cicadas. I'm like, wow.
The worst part is after, you know, and I have a screen porch, so I like to sit outside at night, and my ears are still ringing like a half hour later from these cicadas. I mean, they're really loud. So, but they don't attack you. It's cool.
No,
well, and you got the dog to attack them.
Finding dead cicadas all over the yard. I heard that yesterday.
Exactly. Better be nice. It's Mother's Day tomorrow. Okay.
I was just mentioning that, you had an animal to take care of these things for you.
Pest control.
Right. For free.
Yes, and so, as you were mentioning, Rob, so you've got these benefits, these extra benefits for glasses, frames, contact lenses, hearing aids, but also there's the over-the-counter benefit, which I'm getting ready to use. Woohoo!
What are you going to use the over-the-counter benefit on?
Claritin D.
Load the boat.
That's right. If you are 65,
Name brand, baby. I don't even have to go to. I don't have to go to Costco now and get the fake stuff.
Back up the truck.
That's
so
right.
this is great.
Advil.
This is a solution. If you're looking to retire in the summer, you're over 65, and the allergies get to you. These over-the-counter benefits. Now, I will mention, as we're talking about some of the differences in the extra benefits between companies, I have heard on more than one occasion that the United Healthcare over-the-counter benefit may not be more money, but it is significantly more robust in terms of options available to you in their catalog of over-the-counter benefits. So, again, not a reason to select a particular Medicare Advantage plan, but in many cases, there are benefits inside of your Medicare Advantage plan. I call them bells that don't ring, meaning you might not ever access this benefit, so you don't necessarily want to make the election on that specific benefit.
I was going to say, I don't know if you saw it yesterday when you stopped over, Rob stopped over, but I got a very nice over-the-counter welcome package from Aetna.
Okay. This is kind of great because I always say that the one drawback that I have, that Rob has, that Frank has as working with Medicare is that we don't actually get to use the plans. So we don't know how. I mean, that's a drawback in many ways.
Well, I'll show you this stuff. It's going to cost you, though.
Well, what did you get?
Well,
what did they
sent me 4 toothbrushes.
Okay.
They sent toothpaste.
Dental health.
They sent some other stuff they sent 4 or 5 things. Your mom's like, and she has United Healthcare. I have Aetna. And so she's like, I'm taking this. I'm like,
she has her own.
She has her own.
And even
but these were freebie.
And I think the United Healthcare benefits is slightly more advanced in a few ways. They have an app that you can download onto your phone, and you can literally ring the barcodes to determine if this is part of the over-the-counter benefit or not for you. Versus with Aetna, you do have to look through the catalog and make those elections. But I guess they're sending out freebies.
Band-Aids.
Frank was mentioning the app, and I could just imagine myself when I get to that age just wandering the Walgreens.
I just
CVS.
got that. As a matter of fact, I just got invited to join the app yesterday.
The Aetna app?
Yes, I did. So I'm going to be working on that this weekend.
And then
before I get my Claritin D.
When you get up to the register and it's like, well, actually, this doesn't work. No, my app says take it up with the app.
Oh my gosh. I'm glad that we have a few years before you're Medicare eligible.
Looking at some of these benefits, I'm not. I'm in no rush to get to 65. But if I'll
have a fully stocked pharmacy for you, Rob. Don't worry about it. Very soon.
What? Every time I hear these
$200 a quarter, baby.
These guys talking about Medicare for all, and I look at some of these benefits, I'm like, yeah, sign me up.
No, $200 a quarter is your copay card.
Oh, okay.
Let's not get the benefits confused here. The over-the-counter benefit for Aetna every quarter, I believe, is $75. Let me just confirm that. It's $120 a quarter. I'm sorry.
So it's $480. So you're getting almost $500 in over
Claritin D.
Claritin D and Advil.
I don't
liquid gel
dream.
caplets. Yeah.
Liquid gel.
Could you imagine just going there and just taking the whole little?
Why are you laughing, honey? I don't like to take. I don't have to take the regulars. I would rather take the
capsules.
The capsules.
Yeah.
Liquid gels.
The idea that it's completely on the arm. And they're going to refill that every quarter for you.
Well, United gives you $70 a quarter if you're on the HMO.
It's still $280 for the year.
All right.
I mean, how do you go wrong?
You can't. There's no way. Wait, hold on. We've got... Mom has chimed in as she is on the United. She has not received a welcome gift yet. So... But it sounds like you took Dad's, so it all worked out in the end.
My line.
Any packages that enters the threshold of our home is your mom's. So hers is hers, and mine is hers. And I'm happy to share because it's Mother's Day.
Right, the universal holiday that we've proposed.
Right. And, it's probably...
Global holiday.
Interesting when you think about our language, and you think about names. Mom is probably the second best name that you can have.
What is Dad the First?
There, you got it right. There's nothing better than Dad.
Dad.
Thank you. Especially in that intonation.
That's right.
Babe, I think we ought to take our first break of the hour.
Let's do that.
And we'll be back to answer your phone calls at 314-931-5877 or 84126. Your text from the 84126 KTRS text line. Don't touch that dial. Aaron, Rob, and I will be right back.
You know what they say, you never get a second chance to make a first impression, and windows and doors are usually that first impression when it comes to your home. Dalco Home Remodeling custom makes their windows and doors, and better yet, they make them here in Missouri. Dalco Home Remodeling is locally and family owned, celebrating 50 years, so they know a thing or two. The Dalco team is known for quality and customer satisfaction. That's the way it was 50 years ago when they started, and that's still true today. So if you're looking to change the look of your home without breaking the bank, call Dalco Home Remodeling. They do free in-home estimates. Just call 314-298-7300 and make an appointment. You can also check them out online at DalcoHomeRemodeling.com. As they've always said, if you buy somewhere else and find out how much you could have saved at Dalco, you'll blow your stack. So call Dalco first, 314-298-7300.
This is Jeff Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, that you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email, jeff@jblfinancial.com, to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Now, back to Straight Talk on Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back for our last 30 minutes of our 2-hour show this morning. Straight Talk on Retirement. Our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the KTRS text line. And we've been receiving some very nice texts.
Have we?
Yes, we have, from folks in regard to the cicadas. I'm glad they can still hear us. It is deafening out there, but that's Missouri in the summer. And I guess while we are waiting for your phone calls and texts that we would like to share, I wanted to go over and have a short discussion this morning with my incredibly capable crew here about rollovers. And it isn't unusual for a prospective client to look us in the eye and say, should I roll over my 401k to an IRA or leave it in my old employer's plan?
Or even current employer's plan.
Yes. And for a current employer plan, we're talking about an in-service distribution. We're not hip on those. We think you ought to leave the money in there until you decide to leave. But when you decide that you're going to retire, moving it to a self-directed IRA has a lot of advantages, just tons of them.
Yes. Depending, as long as you're over 59 and a half.
Yes.
So there are some caveats, and we do have some individuals that we're working with who were lucky enough or fortunate enough, because they work so hard, to retire before 59 and a half.
Youngsters, as we like to call them. And there is the 55 plus rule.
Which, gives you the ability to make more distributions from your retirement accounts without penalties.
Right. And what happens is by transferring into a self-directed IRA, if you're between 55 and 59 and a half, you're subject to the IRA rules, not to a little bit more liberal rules.
That govern 401k.
Exactly. But let's go further. Let's look at somebody who's
over 59 and a half.
59 and a half. Should they take the money? What are some of the advantages if they move it to a self-directed IRA?
You can purchase mutual funds in the lowest cost share classes like you have in your retirement plan.
So as working as fiduciaries, we are required to find the lowest share class in terms of fees for you,
which are called institutional shares. And that's really what those are the funds, those are the fund expenses that you're paying associated with those funds in your 401k. We could duplicate them, literally.
Absolutely.
That's a big one.
You can purchase other types of financial instruments that aren't necessarily available inside of your 401k. CDs, individual securities, stocks or bonds, annuities, ETFs are usually not offered in 401k plans, unit investment trusts, other types of financial instruments that you are limited to just generally mutual or index funds
and
in
I think
your
that's
401k.
That's an even bigger perk than the first one, because now you've really opened up your field of vision of what your options are to much greater options than just mutual funds.
And also generally you can purchase anything that's sold if you are working inside of an IRA versus inside of a 401k, where you do have an expansive list of options, but they are limited to what is being offered.
It's about control, which is having control of the entire universe as compared to just the universe that your employer is offering.
Right.
Doesn't mean that the one you're being offered isn't good.
Just means you get more choices.
Why not get good plus everything else in the world?
More options, the better, is my general view of it.
The other thing is, 401ks are not set up to make systematic distributions to you when you want them and you need them, especially if you're over 59 and a half.
Right. You're usually limited to a certain number of times. There is a required 20% tax withholding. What if you are not in the 20% tax bracket? You want to withhold less as a distribution.
Right. And you can't, and you're talking about, and you're obviously talking about not doing what's called a direct transfer, which is money directly to your IRA. So that's why in a rollover, when you are go directly from a 401k or a 403b into an IRA, you're signing the part that says don't do the 20% withholding because you don't have to.
Right, because you're going a trustee to trustee transfer.
And therefore 100% of your account can be transferred.
But if you have left your 401k at your old employer and you need to take distributions, you're going to be, and you need to take money directly so you can spend it to live off of.
Yes.
You'll have to do the 20% withholding, which you might not necessarily need to do. And many 401k plans limit how many times you can make distributions in a certain amount of time.
Well, again, like we're saying is if you don't want the additional freedom and you want the restrictions, well, let's stay in your 401k. It makes sense. But let's talk about one other one, which is what happens when you're a grown-up, as I like to say, someone that's required to take minimum distributions from their plan. If you're working and you're over, as an example, this year, 73, they're going to send you the money. You don't have a choice. They're sending you that required minimum distribution. But you can't do a
qualified charitable distribution.
From that, they won't do those.
Right, because they're only sending to the address of record.
So, we talk about this a lot. Getting our clients to become more tax efficient on things they're already doing. And what I mean is we're sitting down with clients that are required minimum distribution age. And again, we're not talking about inherited IRAs. We're talking about traditional IRAs. And saying, hey, are you making charitable contributions this year to your church, to other charities, etc.? Stop cutting the checks. We can do this for you.
Send it directly from the custodian.
Exactly. And what that will do is reduce the distribution amount, the taxable distribution, dollar for dollar. So as an example, let's just say that you're sending $500 a year to a church, $500 to the Wounded Warriors, $500 to St. Jude, $1,500. The amount of income you're going to be reporting from your requirement distribution is $1,500 less if, in fact, the custodian cuts the checks and sends it for you. Now, they're going to know who it came from. So will the IRS. Cool part is you're going to save taxes. And if you're not itemizing your deductions, it's really important to do it that way.
Another cool thing is we'll do that all for you.
And it's free. There's no charge. Administrative. We could send it once a month, once a quarter, once a year, every 6 months. However you want it sent, LPL's happy. The custodian is very happy to send it out in that way. Doesn't cost you anything, but the thing is, it costs you taxes if you don't.
Be smart.
It's easy to do. So what happens if you don't move the money? Well,
the opposite of what we just discussed.
Not smart.
Well,
no, I mean, the first one would be you're restricted to, as we've discussed before, you're restricted to whatever your plan is offering. and you don't have that whole universe. You're stuck in your little corner of the solar system.
Well, and even further, and we do know that on occasion, because most likely you're not the plan administrator or the head honcho at the company, they can change plan sponsors. They can change funds. They can add and drop stuff maybe that you like.
Right.
And you don't have any control over that.
Also, you're usually limited in the number of times you can make changes to your portfolio.
Yes.
And because the 401k is an accumulation vehicle, not a distribution vehicle, you're restricted in how you can get some distributions out of that 401k.
Absolutely. And then certainly, again, you don't have the whole qualified charitable distributions option available to you inside your 401k. So I think at the end of the day is that if you're interested in expanding the choices that you have in the investment options that you have, if you're interested in actually getting advice, assuming that you actually are seeking advice, because you could go to somebody that doesn't have advisors like Charles Schwab or whomever it would be.
Right. You can direct your own investments even inside of an IRA account.
And you want more flexibility, take your money at retirement. It also is going to make life a lot easier for your beneficiaries, because if you're married, what happens is you have an IRA, your spouse opens an account and they just basically just transfer the assets.
Right.
If you don't, there's a lot more paperwork involved. You got to go to the plan. You got to provide paperwork for the plan.
You're going to have to create an IRA anyway.
Exactly. So make it easy on yourself. Expand your choices. Have some fun. Or think of it this way: rawhide.
I don't know what that reference
Roll them, roll them, roll them.
But like we mentioned, and maybe we'll review some.
When you become a grown punter, you understand rawhide. It's in 40-year reruns right now.
Well, maybe next show we'll review some reasons as to why you wouldn't roll over your 401k.
Sounds good.
Because there are some reasons why it makes sense to leave it.
Okay, well, I'll let you have that task since you're interested in doing so.
Absolutely.
And compliance would appreciate it too.
Yes, they absolutely would. One of the main reasons I brought it to everyone's attention.
Exactly. I guess one would be if you happen to be a member of a plan that was associated with a public corporation that was making contributions by using company stock.
And you don't want to liquidate the company stock.
Right. That would be probably the biggest and the most primary reason.
And some 401k plans do not allow partial rollovers, meaning you can't pick and choose what you're rolling over. So you might have to leave all of it in order to maintain the company stock.
Did we miss anything?
If you were separated from the employer from which the 401k was set up and you needed to take distributions,
and you're under 59 and a half.
59 and a half, you'd be outside of the IRA rules. And like we said before, the 401k rules are a little bit more liberal when it comes to if you're over 55, but yet under 59 and a half, you can get access to that money without paying the 10% penalty.
That's a big deal.
Right.
It could be.
It's a very big deal. No question about that. Good. Again, our phone lines are open. We'd love to hear from you. 314-931-5877 or text us 84126 on the KTRS text line.
And if the cicadas were a reason why you might not consider retiring in the summer, Mr. Sherwood is going to address the cicada issue in the next hour.
Fabulous.
There's solutions to the cicada.
We're going to work together to get everyone retired.
The cicada menace.
The horde.
Yes, and I'm fortunate because I've known Dave for 20 years. Used his services, Sherwood Forest. Fabulous guy, fabulous company, fabulous inventory. Go visit him.
He didn't even have to pay for that.
No, he didn't have to pay for that, but I've seen him play golf, so he'll pay for that.
Oh my goodness!
Wow, I'm just kidding.
Well, on that note, I think we should take our last break of the hour.
So don't touch that dial. We'll be back with more Straight Talk on cicadas after these messages.
On Saturday, May 18th, the Cards host the Boston Red Sox, and that day, 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home a mystery nickname jersey courtesy of Maryville University. Throughout the seasons, players with unique nicknames have left their mark like Pags, Carp, and the most recent Nude. Salute. The Cardinals are excited to honor these players with this fun mystery jersey giveaway. That's Saturday, May 18th. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
The Cardinals wrap up their weekend series with the Boston Red Sox Sunday, May 19th. 25,000 fans ages 16 and older will take home a 200-piece puzzle commemorating Adam Wainwright's 200 career wins. One puzzle piece for each win. That's not all. 10,000 kids 15 and younger entering with a ticket will also receive their own pair of Cardinals sunglasses courtesy of the Pasta House. That's Sunday, May 19th. Get your tickets at cardinals.com/promotions.
This is Adam Wainwright, St. Louis Cardinals for the Lou.
This is Aaron Lapidus, the retirement coach. Wouldn't it be great to have a game plan, a real strategy, so that no matter what was going on in the stock market, the economy, or the world, you could be confident about your retirement? Wouldn't that be great? If you're within 5 years of retirement, call me today at 314-863-0008. That's 314-863-0008. Or send me an email at aaron@jblfinancial.com to arrange your free coaching session. Let's get started on your retirement game plan today.
Let's talk about smart choices for your money. It's Straight Talking Retirement on the Big 550 KTRS. Here are your retirement coaches, Jeff and Aaron Lapidus.
Well, we're back for our last 15 minutes of the show. We'd love to hear from you, 314-931-5877 or 84126 from the text line. And while we're waiting, we're going to talk about Joe and Sally. They are both 62 years old. Obviously, they're married. And they would like to retire in 3 years at age 65 when they become eligible for Medicare. They have a mortgage, not a big one, about $200,000. No credit card debt, student loan debt, or home equity line debt.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I mean, they're almost clean gene. I mean, they're pretty good. So the kids are out of school, and they're not financially dependent on mom and dad. Woohoo!
They haven't come back with cash in hand requests.
No, they're doing well, and that's kind of nice. So they feel like, hey, are we in a situation that we can't retire? Have we accumulated? And they've asked us the question, as everybody else does. Do we have enough capital? And we're obviously not at normal retirement age, which is 60, which will, for both of them, is going to be 67. Can we bridge the gap in that time? Can we get this done? So naturally, we love to visit with folks. We do that literally every week. And we like to play This Is Your Life on our big electronic 6x8 foot whiteboard. So Rob, let's talk about the numbers.
Their current after-tax spending, $7,000 a month.
Yeah, exactly. So they have a very nice lifestyle. We know that we have to increase that by 20% to account for federal and state income taxes.
That brings us to $8,400 a month.
Yes, and between their Social Securities, both of them, it's going to run. They would expect that at the time they do elect their Social Security benefit, normal retirement age at 67, they're going to receive about $4,400 a month, which leaves them about $4,000 a month short.
Not an inconsequential amount of money.
Not in the least. That's $48,000 a year. So using the model that we use, which is using a prudent rate of withdrawal of 4%, we know that they need approximately $1.2 million of capital at their normal retirement age, throwing off 4% to make their life work. Simple algebra problem, right?
It always is.
And we know that they also have an emergency fund goal because they had accumulated a fair amount. We'll talk about this in a few minutes in retirement accounts, but not necessarily non-retirement accounts. And their goal was they wanted to have about $80,000 of cash in their vault, their emergency fund.
And that's really smart. We advise all of our clients to have a bucket that you can draw upon when, the things that you don't plan for happen.
Yeah, so that you don't have to finance.
Right.
Or sell things or do whatever to get a hold of cash. They also identified through our discussions that they had some capital needs, large single times that they're going to need money to do things like replace a car, renovate a kitchen, etc. And the total of those, we asked them to specifically give us what they thought projected amounts would be and then what dates that was going to happen, because that will help us as planners determine and make sure that the cash is sitting there at the time that they need it.
The longer runway we have, the better we can land the plane.
Absolutely. And so that was about $130,000. So $210,000 cash, near cash goal for the emergency fund as well as for their capital consumption. So that's really takes our bucket up from $1.2 million now to $1.421 million.
Again, not inconsequential amounts of money.
Not in the least. So let's look at their sources. Kind of easy. They currently have $65,000 in savings and checking, so they're just a little bit short, about $15,000 on hitting their emergency fund goal.
They also have $65,000 in a Roth, which is a great emergency bucket as well, because when you draw from the Roth, you won't be paying any taxes, which is great.
Yeah, and in this particular case, when it comes down time comes to either purchase that vehicle or begin those home renovations, they're going to want to try to do this in the most tax efficient manner.
Of course.
And we have seen just from our experience of the last 20 plus years, our clients may intend for their Roth IRAs to be used for certain things, but they typically are used for consumption purposes, not for income purposes, but actually to take care of these big ticket items.
Because it helps regulate their tax brackets over the course of time.
Absolutely. I mean, and you think about it, if you say, you know what, I want a $30,000 car. Now, it's so hard to find a $30,000 car these days, but if I want a $30,000 car, right? If I've got to take out an extra 20% for taxes, well, now we went to $36,000.
And, if it was 50, now you're at 60.
Right.
60, now 70, it just it'd be just the math. Crushing.
So again, people don't break into a sweat, but they're going, oh my God. I don't want to I don't really feel this patriotic as it would be.
And also
what other source can I get? What are my other sources?
And a distribution of that size, especially if you're talking about a $60,000 car, which isn't out of the norm at this point,
right.
That could really impact your Medicare Part B premiums.
Absolutely. And then you're going, we're going to go, well, you have this Roth IRA.
Let's at least and again, another example of not having to be all or nothing. We're not liquidating the entire Roth IRA in order to fund this need, but maybe we're taking a portion of it.
Absolutely. And we may even say, hey, we're going to take a portion for the car and a portion for the home renovations, because typically they're not being done at the same time. The other thing would be is that, as we discussed, they've got this savings, and their current vault is sitting at $65,000. This is already money they pay taxes on.
And they're very close to that emergency fund goal too.
Right. So it may be that maybe we're using these two things in tandem to help them meet their capital goals, and then possibly cash flowing it back to them on a monthly basis.
Refill those buckets.
Exactly.
We love filled up buckets.
Right. Now, they also have, in addition to the other two accounts, they have $1.6 million in IRAs inside of their 401k plans, and then $200,000 in IRAs that they previously had owned.
So they had probably rollovers from former employers that created that $210,000 worth of IRAs, and now they still have $1.6 in their 401k plans.
And about $250,000 inside of a brokerage account, which is basically money that they've invested after taxes.
So that's could be tax preferred, meaning we're looking at long-term capital gains depending upon how long they've held the securities, which might be another place that we're taking a piece of these capital expenses from.
An intermediate bucket, if you will.
Right.
Or in some cases, maybe what we're doing is, if these, and we're not going to talk specifically about their investments at this moment, but if these investments had an income orientation, maybe we're throwing off either interest or dividends, we could maybe then use those dollars to either supplement current cash flow, or frankly, just empty that bucket and put it back into their cash bucket.
For most investment accounts, they are automatically set up to reinvest dividends and interest. So if you move into a situation where, and you have to pay taxes if they are reinvested or if they go to cash. So why not consume the cash you're already paying taxes on one way or another, either by filling up your emergency fund, because that was a goal to get to the additional $15,000 in there, or by using some of that money to pay for some of these additional expenses.
What's so cool for these folks is that we're drawing this up on the board. They can see it. It's real. Here are the buckets. Here's where the cash flow is coming from. Here's what we're doing. It creates confidence for them, knowing that there is a path. They can see it, and they can say, yeah, this makes sense to me or not. One thing that we did forget to put in this analysis here was there's that time period, right? They're 62. They want to go to 65. Let's assume they make 65, but they've got to go an extra 2 more years, right, before their normal retirement age for Social Security.
We're not even assuming any growth in any of these assets.
So in other words, we also have to say they're going to withdraw $84,000, which is the total amount because we don't have any pensions or Social Security for 2 years. That's $168,000 on top. So between the milk money, 1.2,
Mm-hmm.
this extra income amount, 168,
Mm-hmm.
210 for the emergency fund, as well as taking care of their capital consumption events, they're looking at about 1.7 million. The nice thing for these folks is they're at 2.1.
Less their savings.
Exactly, less their savings, which puts them at about 2.05 or something like that.
Withdrawal rate.
Exactly.
And they still have 3 more years of work, 3 more years of contributions, 3 more years of growth. So, I mean, we're like lowballing, assuming taking the most conservative approach possible.
And the nice part is that, and I think what was so smart for them is they got to see the math. The math is the math. I mean, the math never changes.
And the math doesn't lie.
No, it doesn't lie. And curiously, I like to, I say this to folks in meetings, and this really is true. There are very few things that you can control in life other than your own behavior. We can't control what happens on the markets. We can't control what happens in Washington, D.C. for sure. We can't control what happens in the State House in Missouri or Illinois, wherever it would be. You can't control what happens in traffic, but you can't control your own behavior.
That's a big one, though.
It's really the biggest one. So being invested, staying invested, understanding your path, and seeing that there's clarity, I think puts you in a position like with these folks. All the decisions that they make between now and the time they retire are enlightened ones. They know that they're going to get there. They know that how they got there, which was being invested. They know we're going to have to stay invested, like we like to say, preserve, protect, prudently grow. Right? We're going to be able to do that. They'll be able to get there. They're also going to be able to take care of these capital consumption needs that they have and still have a little bit extra.
Well, we have a lither bit extra text questions.
Fabulous. Let's go.
And our next texter writes, my wife joined Aetna's plan this year and received an OTC over-the-counter catalog that is much more restrictive in terms of available items than the catalog I received for 2023. Any thoughts?
Yes, that is in fact true. Aetna did make some adjustments to their extra benefits, one of which was decreasing the number of over-the-counter items available in lieu of adding the $200 a quarter copay card, adding the fitness benefit. Every single year, the plans make decisions as to where they are going to put money. Just like, Dad, you were talking about one of the number one determinants of if your money is going to outlive you is your behavior. The plans look at your behavior too, meaning what benefits are you actually using? They're going to put more money towards those benefits because they want to entice you to stay on the plans in the future. So to me, it sounds like people were not using the over-the-counter benefit nearly as much with Aetna in the past. So they took money from that benefit to put into other benefits. If you're someone that likes the over-the-counter benefit, stock up on what's left, the toothbrushes, the toothpaste, and the Claritin D, because hopefully they will siphon some more money back into that over-the-counter program for you next year. But they do, unfortunately, make changes to these benefits, and hopefully you'll be able to take advantage of some of the other ones. But it is true that the United benefit in that particular category just happens to be better this year.
Yeah, and I think, again, as you said, honey, they continue to expand these benefits almost exponentially.
Right.
I mean, we're looking at dental benefits with
$3,250.
Oh my God! Then you've got the fitness benefit of $1,200. I mean, come on. So maybe this wasn't covered in terms of your favorite over-the-counter thing, but they've added so many other goodies that
Well, and then
That's
that
the way
might
of the
be,
world.
and if you fit into the United, the Aetna, the Humana in the future, maybe this is a decision point for
Right.
you as one of the extra bells and whistles down the road.
And speaking of that fitness benefit, our next texter writes, can you please explain what the reasoning or mishap was with Aetna withdrawing some of the fitness benefits? I really don't understand the letter.
Basically, what happened was Aetna released some marketing material covering different components of the fitness benefit, like shoes and the national parks, a few other things that CMS, the Center for Medicare Services, did not approve and does not approve of those dollars being spent in that way. So unfortunately, this was a CMS government decision. Aetna did kind of jump the gun on releasing the benefit before it was fully approved. But as the benefit continues to change, hopefully in the future, they'll be able to be significantly more clear about what is going to be covered under the new and really novel benefit of, paying for some fitness allowance above and beyond silver sneakers.
It sounds like it wasn't really Aetna's fault that they got big-footed by the bureaucrats. Like they were looking to do the right thing, and then
they probably should have held off on releasing marketing material until it was fully approved. But you know what you shouldn't hold off on doing? Is tuning into our show next week, 9 to 11 a.m.
Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers out there.
That's right. We will see you next week.
The opinions voiced in this show are for general information only and are not intended to provide specific advice or recommendations for any individual. To determine which investments may be appropriate for you, consult with your attorney, accountant, and financial advisor or tax advisor prior to investing. Securities offered through LPL Financial, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advice offered through Private Advisor Group, a registered investment advisor. Private Advisor Group and JBL Financial Services, Inc. are separate entities from LPL Financial.